So in early 2026, Iran hit a breaking point. A crisis that had been simmering for years just completely erupted, threatening to shatter the Islamic Republic and, honestly, sending shockwaves all across the globe. So what pushed Iran to the very brink? Let's dive in and unpack the protests, the collapsing economy, and the high-stakes international game to really understand what could happen next.
To really get what's happening, you have to listen to what people are chanting in the streets. And this one, reformer, hardliner, the game is over. Wow, that tells you everything you need to know. This isn't just about being unhappy with one political party or another. This is a total rejection of the entire system itself.
So how did we even get to this boiling point? Well, it all started with protests on a scale we have just never seen before. That was the spark that ignited this whole crisis.
I mean, the sheer scope of these protests was absolutely staggering. These weren't just a few isolated incidents in a couple of cities. We are talking about the largest demonstration since the 1979 revolution, spreading to every single province. And crucially, it united people across all ethnic and class lines. This was different. This was bigger than anything the regime had ever faced before.
In the regime's response, it was terrifyingly fast and unbelievably brutal. Let me put this number in perspective for you. It took months for the civil war in Syria to reach this many casualties among protesters. The Iranian government did it in a matter of days.
This slogan is so incredibly revealing. You can just feel the deep, simmering anger here. People are absolutely furious that their government is pouring money into foreign proxies like Hezbollah, while they can barely afford to feed their own families back home. It is a direct, powerful rejection of the regime's entire foreign policy.
And that anger over misplaced priorities, that suffering at home, well, that brings us to the core driver of this crisis, the catastrophic failure of the Iranian economy. This right here was the fuel that turned a tiny spark of protest into a nationwide inferno.
Just imagine for a second that nearly half the value of your entire life savings just vanish in a year. A 48% inflation rate isn't just some abstract statistic. It's a crushing daily reality for millions of families just trying to buy food, pay rent, and, simply survive.
And the pure chaos of this hyperinflation is captured in this one single number. When it takes over 1.3 million of your currency to equal a single US dollar, your money is essentially worthless. This wasn't just a financial crisis. It brought everyday life to a complete and total standstill.
And it's so important to remember, this economic pain wasn't new. It's not like everything was fine before. Even before this latest collapse, conservative estimates showed that over half the country had already fallen below the poverty line. This final crisis just made an unbearable situation completely impossible.
So this all raises a really key question, right? Why would a government prioritize spending money on foreign groups over its own people, especially during a total economic collapse? To answer that, we have to look deep into the regime's core ideology, a concept that, frankly, many in the West just consistently misunderstand.
Okay, this is the key. For the hardliners who are in power, the Islamic Republic, the actual state of Iran with its borders and its government, that's just a tool. The real goal, the thing that matters most, is the Islamic Revolution, a permanent global ideological cause. And when those two things conflict, the revolution wins, every single time.
And look, this isn't some new strategy. This has been the playbook from the very beginning. Back in 1979, the revolution vowed to defend the oppressed of the world. By 1982, that translated into creating Hezbollah in Lebanon. You fast forward to today, and billions of dollars are being spent to maintain this vast network of proxies. This history connects directly back to that protest slogan we heard: no Gaza, no Lebanon.
Now, all of this internal chaos isn't happening in a vacuum. Of course not. So let's zoom out and look at the intense international pressures that are making this whole crisis so incredibly volatile. It's a real pressure cooker.
President Trump's approach has been, a familiar mix of aggressive threats and then offers to negotiate. On the one hand, you hear him talking about a massive armada, and on the other, he's saying, we're talking to them. This kind of dual-track strategy keeps everyone, especially the leaders in Tehran, completely guessing.
Meanwhile, Iran's neighbors are watching all of this with extreme anxiety, and each one has its own nightmare scenario. Israel might want the regime gone, but they're terrified of the chaos a failed state would unleash. The Gulf states are worried about attacks on their oil routes, and Turkey is concerned that a collapsing Iran could embolden its own Kurdish movements. For the entire region, A stable Iran, even a hostile one, is often seen as better than the alternative.
And then there's China. This table is absolutely fascinating because it shows how Beijing has basically become a lifeline for these sanctioned regimes. You can see Iran is by far its largest supplier of sanctioned oil, dwarfing even Russia and Venezuela. As the top customer, China has a massive economic stake in preventing a full-blown conflict that would cut off this critical flow of energy. So, you have this perfect storm, right? Unprecedented domestic unrest, a completely collapsed economy, a radical ideology, and intense international pressure, all converging at the exact same time. And this leads us to the critical question: conflict, chaos, or change? I mean, those are the three stark possibilities hanging over Iran, the region, and frankly, the world. And there are powerful forces pushing in every single direction.
The regime is weaker than it has ever been. Its leadership is aging, its military was recently humiliated, and its economy is in absolute ruins. But, and this is a huge but, the powerful Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, has everything to lose. These guys control huge parts of the economy, and they get rich while the public starves. They will fight to the death to keep the system that benefits them.
And that leaves us with this final, crucial thought. We almost never accurately predict major political change. Revolutions always seem completely impossible, right up until the moment they become inevitable. The only question now is whether Iran has finally reached that moment.